As we all know in football, everyone's after a 20-goal a season striker, but what I thought we'd do for today's video is look into how often they actually come about. So every championship club, when did you last have a 20-goal a season striker, and what are they actually up to nowadays? If you're going to enjoy, make sure to leave a like, but without any further ado, let's hop into it. Barnsley Sam Winnall 2015/16. Now last season from their promotion from League One, both Coley Woodrow and Kiefer Moore came very close. They both bagged 19 in all competitions that season, but we're going all the way back to 2015 for Barnsley. 24 goals Sam Winnall scored this season, and what a team Barnsley had, by the way. They finished 6th in League One. They were promoted up to the Championship that season, beating Millwall 3-1 in the playoff final. It was a great team that went on to get promoted. We all know what went on to happen with Sam Winnall. Made the move over to Wednesday, scored that goal against Barnsley. I enjoyed that one quite a bit. I'm not sure he's the most popular man in Barnsley these days, but since making his move over to Sheffield Wednesday, not quite been the same player, has he? Luton Town James Collins. Luton have actually got quite the track record with producing 20-goal a season strikers. Last season, with their promotion from League One, he bagged 25 goals. The season before that in League Two, when they promoted, he also scored 20 as well, alongside Danny Hilton. And then going even further back than that, in 13/14, they had Andre Gray, who bagged 30 goals in the season they were promoted up to League Two. So Luton have got quite the record with strikers. Hull City Abel Hernandez 2015/16. Now obviously Jared Bowen scored over 20 goals for Hull last season, but if we're talking strictly strikers, we're going back to the days of Abel Hernandez, and what a lethal finisher he was in the Championship. This was the season Hull went on to get promoted up to the Premier League, beating Sheffield Wednesday in the playoff final, and Hernandez played a massive role in that. I think he won the Player of the Year award for Hull that year. Nowadays he's out playing his football in Qatar of all places. After Hull, he made his move over to Russia, and then from Russia he's now playing out in Qatar. What a player back in the day though. Middlesbrough Fabrizio Ravanelli 1996/97. It has been 23 years since Middlesbrough have had a striker that scored over 20 goals for them in a season. That is absolutely bonkers. I'm speechless. Middlesbrough fans, what's going on? To be fair, Ravanelli was a bit of a baller, you know. He scored 31 goals for them in all competitions that season. He previously played for Juventus, got 8 goals for Italy. There have been a couple of players who have gone close. Patrick Bamford grabbed 19 for them while he was on loan there back in 14/15. Marvin Emnes went quite close. He bagged 18 for them, but it's just not happened for Borough strikers, has it? Huddersfield Town Jordan Rhodes 2011/12. We spoke about Jordan Rhodes in the video last week, but 40 goals he scored in 45 appearances in 11/12 as Huddersfield were promoted up to the Championship. Absolutely bonkers. I think the Jordan Rhodes at Wednesday right now is a bit of a far cry from the player he once was. I mean, if maybe he just needs that move away from Wednesday and then he could get himself going somewhere else perhaps. I don't really know with Rhodes. For Huddersfield though, he was just different gravy. 124 appearances and 73 goals. Absolutely off the charts. Charlton Athletic Lyle Taylor, he bagged 25 goals in all competitions last season as they were promoted from League One. We're yet to see where his future lies in terms of going away from Charlton. Where's he going to end up? But before Lyle Taylor, they had Bradley Wright Phillips hitting over 20 goals, and what a player he was. He scored 22 goals in the 11/12 season as Charlton were promoted as champions up from League One to the Championship. His partnership with Jan Kermigan was something else. These days, Bradley Wright Phillips finds himself out in the MLS. He's actually recently signed for Los Angeles FC. Previously spent 7 years with New York Red Bulls, and he's actually the 7th highest top scorer in MLS history. Stoke City Peter Thorne 99/2000. That was the last time they had a 20-goal a season striker. He scored 30 in all competitions that year. But they've had quite the dry spell since. 20 years. I mean, in that time, I've been born, grown up, and are now bringing you this video about Stoke not having a 20-goal a season striker in 20 years. Fuller came close in their promotion season from the Championship. He got 15 that year. But I think that Stoke are due a good striker in the next few years. Wigan Athletic Will Grigg 17/18. Over the last few years, Wigan had become a bit of a yo-yo club between League One and the Championship, and their prolific player in League One was always Will Grigg. 26 goals in all competitions he scored in their last promotion season. Before that, he scored 28 goals in their promotion from League One back in 2016. Could never quite deliver those numbers in the Championship, but still did a job for Wigan. Nowadays, he's out at Sunderland and has only scored 1 league goal for them this season. Birmingham City Che Adams 2018/19. 22 goals and 4 assists for Adams last season, and it's been a bit of a shame that things just haven't really clicked from at Southampton, isn't it? He's had 8 starts, 15 appearances off the bench in the Premier League for them this season, and is yet to get off the mark for the Premier League club. I'm still of the belief that he can cut it at that level. It's just things at Southampton haven't really clicked for him. But like with Birmingham in the Championship, he was absolutely prolific. It seems like they've now finally found his replacement in Scott Hogan, but what a player. Sheffield Wednesday, Neil Mellor. Wednesday haven't had a striker hit 20 goals since the 10/11 season. Neil Mellor on loan from Preston North End went to Wednesday in League One. I always quite liked Neil Mellor at Preston. For whatever reason, in 2010, our manager at the time, Darren Ferguson, didn't rate Mellor, so he allowed him to go out on loan, and Wednesday got the benefit of that. He scored 13 goals in the league and got 20 in all competitions. After that loan spell out to Wednesday, he came back to Preston for another year that we spent in League One, and then after was actually forced to retire, sadly, due to injury at only the age of 29. Reading Shane Long 2010/11. I think that every transfer window we always see a link from Shane Long and possibly going back to Reading. I'm sure they take him, but he really was prolific back in his Reading days. This being the pick of the bunch in 10/11, 25 goals in all competitions. Reading went on to make it all the way to the playoff final, but unfortunately it wasn't to be their day. It was the one where Scott Sinclair scored a hat-trick for Swansea as they beat Reading by 4-2 in the final. But Long that season was prolific. The season after he get his move to the Premier League, then moving to West Brom, and he's been playing his football in the top flight ever since, obviously now playing for Southampton. Queen's Park Rangers Charlie Austin. His record for QPR is absolutely sublime overall. 89 games, 48 goals. In the 13/14 season, he was just coming off the back of a 28 goal season with Burnley. He moved over to QPR, got 20 in all competitions as QPR went to get promoted to the Premier League. And in the Premier League, he still could at that level as well, getting 18 goals for them that season. And then after half another season in the Championship with QPR, then made his move over to the Premier League with Southampton, and of course now finds himself at West Brom. Still a top striker, don't get me wrong, but back in the day for QPR, he was something else. Derby County Matej Vydra 2017/18. He won the Championship Golden Boot this year, 21 goals in the league, 22 in all competitions. Such an enjoyable player to watch. He absolutely ran things for Derby that season. Previously, he'd had 2 great seasons with Watford in the Championship as well, scoring 22 and 16 goals for Watford in separate seasons. And then after his time at Derby, it looked like he was bound to make his move over to Leeds, but they love a good transfer saga. In the end, he did a U-turn and went to Burnley. And the move to Burnley, I mean, they don't play like the most attacking heavy football, did he, in the Premier League, so Vydra's not really been able to thrive in the Sean Dyche system. Millwall Lee Gregory 2015/16, he scored 27 goals in all competitions as Millwall made it all the way to the playoff final. We mentioned this one before, but it was the one they lost to Barnsley. Thankfully for them, they were then promoted the year after. I think Lee Gregory and Steve Morrison just formed such an iconic partnership at Millwall, didn't they? And he carried his goal scoring form into the Championship with Millwall as well. He hit double figures for both seasons he was there. And then this season we've seen him make that move over to Stoke, where he's been a bit more of like a bit part player. He's got 4 goals, 3 assists for them this season. Bristol City Bobby Reid 2017/18, scored 21 goals in all competitions. I think that Bristol City have been like the best club for producing 20 goal a season strikers over the last 5 years or so. We've had Bobby Reid. Before that we had Tammy Abraham, who was on loan there. He got 26 goals for Bristol City, and the season before they had Jonathan Kodjia, who bagged 20 goals for them. It's just been a conveyor belt of top strikers, but Bobby Reid's an interesting one. After his real breakthrough year at Bristol City, he made his move over to Cardiff. Didn't really fit into the Neil Warnock system, is now playing his football at Fulham, where he is playing a lot deeper, playing a lot more in like central midfield for Fulham now. Very intelligent player nonetheless. Swansea, Ollie McBurney. To be fair, Swansea are similar to Bristol City actually, in that they've produced some absolutely wonderful strikers over the last few years. The latest of which being Ollie McBurney, last season scoring 24 goals for them in all competitions. He really was their talisman going forward, obviously now playing his football in the Premier League for Sheffield United. Before McBurney, of course, the 2 main men being Wilfred Boney and Michu. I mean, Michu's going down as like one of the greatest like one-season wonders in the Premier League after his year at Swansea. Blackburn Rovers, Rudy Gestede and Jordan Rhodes 2014/15. Now, it's rare for a Championship club to have 1 20-goal-a-season striker. Back in 2015, Blackburn had 2. Rudy Gestede getting 22 goals that season, Jordan Rhodes getting 21. I mean, what a partnership that'd be. Although despite their attacking prowess, Blackburn only went on to finish 9th that season. I think this season as well was probably Gestede and Rhodes like at the peak of their powers really, because after that they both went on to fade quite a bit. Gestede went to Aston Villa, didn't do great there, is now struggling for form at Borough, and the same thing really happened to Jordan Rhodes, although the decline for that one was maybe a little bit slower. Cardiff City Jay Bothroyd 2010/11, top Championship striker from back in the day, 20 goals in all competitions, and Cardiff had quite the squad back then. They had 4 different players who got into double figures for them that season. Bothroyd with 20, then we had Craig Bellamy, Michael Chopra and Peter Whittingham, the absolute icon. They had the beast John Parkin for that season as well, although they weren't able to get promoted, losing in the playoff semi-finals against Reading. After Bothroyd left Cardiff, his career in England was fairly short-lived. He went to QPR, then Wednesday for a bit, and then since 2015 has been playing his football out in Japan. Preston North End Joe Garner 2014/15. Honestly, what I'd do to get a prime Joe Garner in our team at the moment is just what we're lacking, a clinical striker, but what a player he was. 27 goals in all competitions, and that was despite missing a couple months of the season out through injury. We went on to get promoted that season up through the playoffs, beating Swindon 4-0 at Wembley. We just had a prolific strike force then. We had Garner, Beckford and Gallagher all getting into double figures. In the Championship, I still rate Joe Garner. I still think he's a decent option, but not quite as prolific as he was in League One. He scored 6 goals with us and then made his move over to Rangers, and then arrived back in England, first playing for Ipswich and now at Wigan League and where he is today. He is like the ultimate wind-up merchant striker though. When you have a player like him on your team, you just love him. Nottingham Forest, David Johnson and Marlon Harewood, 2002/3. We're going back quite a way for Nottingham Forest, but back in 2003, David Johnson bagged 29 goals, Marlon Harewood 21, so they had two 20-goal season strikers. In the meantime, we've had quite a few players at Forest who have come tantalisingly close. I mean, last season, Lewis Grabban bagged 17 goals. At the moment, Lewis Grabban's got 17 as well, so he could go on and be their 20-goal season striker should he find the back of the net 3 more times. Robert Earnshaw came quite close to them, Britt Assombalonga as well, but quite a way back for Forest in their last 20-goal striker. Brentford obviously have got Ollie Watkins this season, who's managed to already break that 20-goal a season mark. Before that, we had Neil Maupay from last season, 28 goals in all competitions. Absolutely lethal striker, and he continues to ruffle feathers of defenders in the Premier League, as we've seen over this last week or so from his time at Brighton and that game against Arsenal. I like Neil Maupay very much. In the Championship, he was just next level, and he was a massive wind-up merchant as well, wasn't he? Like, he really got under the skin of some defenders. This season, he's doing well with Brighton in the Premier League, got 9 goals for them, but at Brentford, we all knew what a player they had in their hands at the time. And then Fulham's the same as Brentford, really. Obviously, they got Mitrovic this season, who's already hit that 20-goal mark. Let me know down below who you fancy to get the golden boot this season. Is it going to be Mitrovic or is it going to be Watkins? But before Mitro, they had Ross McCormack, and Ross McCormack was really scoring goals for Fulham when it wasn't the greatest Fulham side. Like, they didn't have the greatest finishes in the league. In 2015/16, they just avoided relegation, finishing 20th. Ross McCormack in that time scoring 23 goals in all competitions. They really were a bit of a one-man team at one point. In and around the box, in the 6-yard box with tap-ins, goals from outside the box, he could do absolutely everything. He fell off after that and is now actually a free agent, but in his Fulham days, peak Ross McCormack. Leeds United, Chris Wood scoring 30 goals in all comps in 16/17. Imagine where Leeds would be now if they still had a striker like Chris Wood. I mean, he may not be the perfect fit for a Bielsa system, but Jesus, they'd be running away with this league. I saw a stat about Bamford the other day that he's missed the most big chances in the Championship this season, 27, I think 10 more than anyone else this season, which is a stat in itself. But I mean, Chris Wood, what an absolute player he was for Leeds. The season he won the Golden Boot, he was absolutely untouchable that year in the Championship, wasn't he? Everything would just turn to goals for him. After that, he got his move to the Premier League again with Burnley and has hit double figures for every season he's been there. West Brom, Dwight Gale from last season, 24 goals in all comps. I think that the only sort of thing that West Brom are really lacking in this side is like that prolific striker. I mean, at times, you know, Hal Robson-Kanu done a good job for them, Charlie Austin coming in off the bench as well, but Dwight Gale last season was just on a whole nother level, wasn't he? He, alongside Jay Rodriguez, got into 20 goals last season. Jay Rodriguez grabbing 22. They just worked off each other brilliantly, and after they lost those two players, there was a bit of fear that West Brom would really fall off. You know, they'd lost pretty much all their goals in their side, but Bilic has managed to reassemble it really well over the summer, and now we've got Jay Rodriguez playing his football with Burnley in the Premier League, and Dwight Gale still at Newcastle, but not really featuring too much for them. But guys, there we have it. There was every Championship club and who was your last 20-goal a season striker. If you went on to enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like, and if you've got any other video suggestions, then let me know in the comments down below. Someone suggested this one a few weeks ago, and I thought it would be quite an interesting topic to talk about. But apart from that, guys, thank you very much for watching. Like I say, if you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like and do subscribe for some regular Championship content. But apart from that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.